Pokemon Radical Red is a game that's difficult, but the difficulty is well designed. Though the game can be hard, it's also very fair. How hard the game is for you all depends on your skill level and knowledge of Pokemon. In a way, Radical Red really is separating the good players from the scrubs in the community. If someone bitches and whines that this game is too hard or unfair or impossible, then it's not the game's fault at all. It's their fault for sucking and not using their brains properly. Impossible ROM hack? It's so impossible that people have actually been able to beat Radical Red with literally a single Pokemon. Funny how that works. In this video I'll be illustrating how you too can easily destroy this game, and to make things spicier, I'll be using an extra challenge of using only bug type Pokemon in this run. A pretty popular challenge. This video is more of a how-to strategy guide, showcasing many of the new buffs, optimal plays to make, team building strategy, and special ways to cheese your way through the endgame. If you're struggling in this game, then this will definitely help you out, cause let's be honest, this is obviously possible. Every single monotype has been easily completed by this point by people in the community. This is not another one of those dumb can you beat videos where it's basically just a glorified let's play with no real value to it. This video is much more educational. Even for someone who's not doing a mono run, they're just doing a normal playthrough, if you're struggling, you'll learn some useful things from this video. I'll be showing how you can beat this game step by step, from start to end by using strategy. Once you know how these work, it's quite easy for you to recreate and pull it off yourself. I purposely came up with tactics that don't really rely on RNG, because let's be honest, if your plan relies on RNG like getting a specific critical hit or needing an ancient power boost to work, then it's not a good plan. Many YouTubers make this mistake when they literally just rely on spamming save states and soft resetting over and over again until the RNG swings in their favour. This is dumb, as by doing this, you can just get whatever outcome you want without needing to use any actual skill. In this run, no save states or soft resets were used at all, including the Elite Four. I managed to beat them all back to back reasonably easily, and so will you after watching this. Bug types are a fan favourite in the community and a very fun choice to use for a mono run. It's one of the biggest types of the game, so you'll have a lot of options. They also evolve very early, so that's a plus right there. And even better is that many bug type Pokemon in Radical Red have received buffs to make them slightly less power crept by better Pokemon. During the guide, I'll be explaining many of these new buffs to you. It's pretty cool, such as Beautyfly, who receives a 5-point buff to its special attack stat and a 10-point buff to its speed, while Dustox gets plus 20 to HP and plus 10 to special attack, making them surprisingly powerful early game, and worth using in the mid game, where before they would be completely power crept. However, despite these buffs, most of them aren't enough to make them viable to endgame despite that, which is a bit of a problem. Bug types are considered to be arguably the weakest type, with only a handful of powerhouses that are viable in the endgame, with the rest being pretty much power crept by the mid game. But with the right team building skills, you can get the most out of these bug types. So start the game and go straight to catch some bug types. There's a big choice already. Honestly, for this part of the game, the IVs aren't so important for the early game. I didn't need to reset or to recatch any Pokemon. However, it's good to know what bug types you'll need for the long run, and which ones you won't need on your run. I did realise retroactively that some of the bug types I used weren't worth EV training, while other ones were definitely worth it. When doing any monotype run or building any kind of team, something bad players don't understand is that just throwing a bunch of semi-decent Pokemon together and calling it a day doesn't necessarily make a good team. What makes a good team is when you have a game plan or a strategy or something that ties all of your Pokemon together, a win condition similar to something from Yu-Gi-Oh! This is why the Elite Four in say Pokemon Unbound were so threatening, as they all had very powerful field effects to make their teams cohesive threats and that really synergize with them. Now, I found out how to make a very powerful endgame bug team, which you will see soon enough. The first thing to do, and probably the most important, is to decide who your ace Pokemon will be for the long run, usually a Mega Evolution, and for bug types there are several options to use. Mega Heracross is a slow powerhouse that can take a hit and smash almost anything in its path. His buff now is Arm Thrust got his base power raised to 25, basically being stronger than close combat. And if played right, you can activate Moxie from base Heracross, then Mega Evolve to get the most mileage out of it. Mega Pinsir is a wild card of a Mega Evolution, with pretty good speed and incredible power, along with Aerolate Priority, which is useful. A good sweeper and revenge killer with sword stance, as well with pretty decent bulk. Remember, sticky webs is a thing, so that if you do get that off, that will make Mega Pinsir a lot faster. The good thing is that you can actually use Moxie or Intimidate with the base form before Megaing to get even more out of Mega Pinsir. Mega Scizor is a safe option. As you already know, base Scizor is great, so this is just a flat upgrade. The main advantage of this form is extra bulk, and that's pretty much it. But something that really interested me in Radical Red is that this game has two brand new original game Mega Evolutions to use. But unfortunately they're very lackluster, just like a lot of the new Mega Evolutions in this game. The first one is Mega Butterfree, which is just okay. But by Mega standards it's pretty bad, despite the fact that it got a plus 130 to its base stats, whereas most Mega Evolutions only get plus 100, it's still not very good. It's not that bulky, nor is it that fast, and it only has one gimmick, which is Quiver Dance Sleep Powder boost with Compound Eyes, but there's no need to waste a Mega slot for this. The other new Mega Evolution is Mega Orbital, and it pains me to say this, but don't bother with this. Its stats are okay, especially with Sticky Web it can outspeed. Is Mega Butterfree but better in terms of stats? The weird thing is that Mega Orbital, it doesn't even get the base 100 stat increase, it only gets like plus 60, which is kind of a disappointment. But unlike Mega Butterfree, Mega Orbital, it doesn't even get Sleep Powder or Quiver Dance. It gets Sticky Web, I guess, and a few utility moves, but unfortunately Mega Orbital is not worth using, though I do like it. But with these Mega forms for bug types, there's no debating what the best one is all around. And that is Mega Beedrill. There are several reasons for this. Mega forms are limited to only one per team and are supposed to represent your MVP. If you're using a Mega form, it better have a good reason to being there, and it better be worth it. While Scizor and Heracross for their Mega forms are good, the reason against using them is that their base forms are already very good and are just as good as their Mega forms, and even better in some cases. Heracross base is amazing when it abuses Sticky Web Moxie, and Scizor can hit even harder than its Mega form with a Life Orb. So the Mega is only giving you a little bit of bulk, and that's pretty much it. That doesn't really justify using it. I don't want the Mega form to just be a slight upgrade of a Pokemon I already have. I want a crazy powerhouse. Mega Beedrill is just what the team needs. It's incredibly fast, outspeeding virtually everything, including Choice Scarf Dracovish, Swift Swim Mega Swampert with Sticky Webs, Koga's entire ninja team except for Drapion, even Dragapult gets outsped by it, while also being able to deal a crazy amount of damage. Neutral Poison Jab will destroy many fast sweepers like Swellow and Greninja, Knockoff can one-shot Dragapult, Drill Run can deal with Steel types, and most importantly, Fell Stinger. Holy cum, that move is unreal in this game. Fell Stinger got buffed to 50 base power. Well, when it knocks out a Pokemon, it raises your attack by 3 stages this time. Good lord. If Mega Beedrill Revenge KOs with Fell Stinger, which is very easy to do, from there on it's almost a guaranteed one-shot everything in its path. This will happen. The best thing about using Mega Beedrill is that you can still use base Heracross and base Scizor along with this to get the most out of your bug types. So now let's build the first team and grind to level 15 for the first gym, and Faulkner. Despite the type disadvantage, this is easy as you do have a level advantage over them, and you have the numbers. Well, I'd beat them with suboptimal IVs. It's worth spending a bit of time to get good IVs, and I highlight which Pokemon you want to get for the long run. Any team of 6 bug types early on in Viridian Forest will probably do, but you might want to pick up a few key Pokemon. Beedrill obviously will be the start in the endgame, so it's a good idea to spend a bit of time to get a perfect Beedrill, or one that's as perfect as it can be. Speed and attack are a priority, they have to be S tier. base will be useful until the mid game anyway, so just get a good Beedrill. Surskit is nice to use for the first 2 gyms. Water Bug is obviously good against Brock, but can also do neutral damage to Falkner. Masquerain is worth considering as well for the mid game. Is now Bug Water type with a plus 10 buff to HP. Intimidate is always useful to get. Nincada has its moments and is so worth using for the early game. Nincada can deal with Alolan Geodude to an extent, and Ninjask is very powerful. It's worth mentioning that you do not get Shedinja the normal way in this game. To get Shedinja you have to get a Dust Stone, which you can't do until Celadon City. But regardless, Ninjask is very useful surprisingly. It's incredibly fast, and is very useful especially against Misty, Bugsy and Erica, and even Chuck. Definitely worth using Ninjask. Spinarak is mild spice. Ariados has buffed attack and speed, while also getting access to sticky webs. Sucker Punch and Fellstinger, and even TM Dig, which can really help against Lieutenant Surge. Ariados with max attack and HP investment with Fellstinger will definitely put in work, especially as it's got priority moves. But also against Sabrina, this will prove to be extremely useful. Last but not least on the team is Lediba. Mach Punch in dual screens, which is an egg move that I was able to get with Dexnav, or useful against Brock. But Ledian will be very valuable early game to mid game. With a massive attack buff and a new fighting type, Iron Fist ability, Power Up Punch along with priority, it can be a lifesaver. With all these Pokemon, you'll wreck Falkner, and even Brock is not hard. Not much to see. Hell, I even missed my Compound Dye Sleep Powder on Butterfree, but it didn't even matter. I also want to show you guys that these strategies are so good that most of the times you don't even need luck to win much. I want to show you that even when things don't go to plan and I do get unlucky, like missing the Compound Dye Sleep Powder, which is very unlikely, I still have backup plans to win regardless, and these strategies, they can still work despite that. Nincada can beat down Geodude if it has Mud Slap. Mine didn't, I had to use Absorb instead, but this still wasn't even an issue. Once Surskit is out, you just win. Hit Onix with Bubble, take a hit, switch out so you can then switch it back in so it can still outspeed Onix, then you just win the rest of the battle. The remaining Vulpix won't stand up to the several bug types that you have, especially since they're already evolved. Pretty much an easy start, though these bug types will start to get power crept eventually. Move on, and at this point you'll have no problem at all, unless you're really bad at this game. The Rocket Admin boss is almost autopilot if you know what to do. Now that you've got Ledian, just Power Up Punch and sweep with Mach Punch. Iron Fist and 90 attack fighting is so strong at this point. Move on, and just forget about the next rival battle, it's not even worth showing yet. Clear out Nugget Bridge, and this is when we start to properly train. I want to beat Bugsy first, then Misty, while also preparing for Lieutenant Surge at the same time. These are the Pokemon that I trained up here. Audino grinding to level up is super easy. Then what I do is I use the Matcho Brace to max out my HP EVs on all these Pokemon, as none of them need speed investments anyways. I only train HP as Audino is the only Pokemon that can give 2 EVs at this point, so it's by far the fastest way to max out his stat. The Matcho Brace now multiplies EV gains by 4, so grinding against a Pokemon that only gives 1 EV point will take far longer to do, it'll take about twice as long. I didn't bother training the other stats because you don't really need to at this point. You'll do well enough just training HP, and right now the game's still pretty easy. Vikavolt and Orbeetle are good, but I would say not worth using at this point. Orbeetle is only acquirable at the 3rd gym and is only really useful about that point. Vikavolt is nice, but really not needed. I would recommend some Pokemon for this stage though. Beedrill, just because you want to catch a perfect IV1 anyway, so make sure you can use it. Especially as Beedrill is not weak to electric types, which is an issue with a lot of the good early game bug types like Masquerain and the flying types. They're not that good against Lieutenant Surge. Parasect, however, is definitely recommended. It's got electric resistance and the dry skin ability, so it's immune to water while healing its HP at the same time. Amazing against Misty, as you can just switch in and then heal yourself up. Also, Spore's a great move, as you already know. But to top it off, in this game Parasect gets plus 20 to his HP and plus 10 to his attack. Strong for this part of the game. Looking back at this, Orbeetle and Vikavolt line weren't really worth training up. I would replace him with other Pokemon. Ninjask is very good, as you will soon see, so I add that back to the team. Dustox really didn't do much in this run at all, but at least it's okay against Lieutenant Surge, I guess. That was pretty much its only use in the entire run. So let's carry on. Bugsy sounds hard, but he's really not. I use Butterfree as a throwaway mon to deal some damage against a leading Ariados. It hurts Scyther, which is what counts, as that's the biggest threat to your team. Make sure you have priority or other ways to deal with it, as otherwise Cypher can just sweep your team. But because this Ninjask can finish it off along with the rest of the team, it's got dual wing beat, so Ninjask is just amazing in this battle. Next is Misty, and for God's sake man, I'm tired of all these absolute noobs who bitch about Gym Leader Misty being unfair. Like, what the hell? She's only got 3 Pokemon on her team, and one of them isn't even fully evolved. If you can't even handle her 3 Pokemon with your full team of 6, then that's your problem for sucking and not using your brain. Most of these people, I swear, roll up with like Modest Nature Eradicate with garbage IVs, and they wonder why they're getting wrecked. I didn't even need a strategy with this bug team. It was so easy. The lead Pokemon is up to you. Frogadier can be a bit tricky to beat 1-on-1, but if Ledian leads out, it will have to switch out to Starmie to wall it. At this point you need to switch out. Ninjask is our bug here, as I can take even a critical hit and smash the Starmie in return with U-turn. The best thing is that with good IVs in Natures and EV training, Ninjask can actually one-shot the Starmie from this range. I didn't do that, but it wasn't even an issue, as Parasect can easily just switch in and wall it to Starmie. Though it can't really handle Frogadier that well, now that Sleep has been nerfed. But as long as you got Ninjask, you can just come in and revenge kill with everything hard. Hell, I even missed against a Float Cell with dual wing beat, but it didn't even matter. Misty's easy, even if you're not using optimally trained mons and you get bad RNG. Ariados is also a very good revenge KO Pokemon at this point, and that along with Ninjask will pretty much destroy her team easily enough. In the interest of time, I'll gloss over the next Breden battle, as he should not be an issue. Just lead off with Ledian and you'll figure out the rest. If you can't, then it's on you. Whitney is hard for some people, so I will cover her though. She's really not that bad. Her lead Wigglytuff is a threat as it's got sheer force and fire punch, so you do need something for that. I use Butterfree to put it to bed. Unfortunately my Dustox can't hurt it enough. Turns out you don't actually have any good poison type moves to use yet, as Dustox still isn't that strong, and Beedrill does not get Poison Jab at this point. But this ends up being a good thing actually. Wigglytuff just managed to survive, and that allowed me to activate my trap card. Ariados can revenge KO with Fell Stinger. Oh baby, time to get freaky with a +3 attack and max HP investment. This doesn't actually have any attack investment, nor does it have a good nature, but if it did, it would have easily 2-shotted the Vigoroth, and it even has Sucker Punch as good measure. It would have also been able to wreck Miltank and sweep the rest of our team single-handedly, but even though I didn't do that because I didn't have any attack investment, it didn't even matter. Ariados can still damage the Miltank enough so you can easily just revenge KO it, then just gang up on the remaining Indeedee 4-on-1, so there's no way you can lose at this point. Lieutenant Surge is next, and he's slightly more challenging but still not hard. New noteworthy bug Pokemon are available. Dustox still didn't pull its weight, so I would actually replace it with either Ninjask to outspeed the Alolan Raichu and to hit hard in general, or Venomoth, which is now actually accessible. It becomes Bug Psychic in this game with a small +5 to defense and special attack. It's also another Sleep Powder user, so for this battle it's worth replacing Butterfree with this, as it won't be weak to electric types, but this wasn't even that necessary. Also, while not needed yet, make sure that you catch Yanma, which is now available in Cerulean City. I did not realise until later on in the run how invaluable Yanmega will be for some of the boss fights, so make sure that you get a near perfect IV one now so you can use it in the run. As for Lieutenant Surge, the fact that he spams Volt Switch is a bit troublesome as he keeps switching around. This is where max HP Orbeetle really shines actually. Citrus Berry's Miracle allows you to slam his team hard, as it will just easily spam Miracle and almost destroy everything in its path. Even if Lieutenant Surge uses Volt Switch, it still forces him to almost always sack a Pokemon, and he only has 4 of them while you'll have 6. Orbeetle can easily wall a Alolan Raichu and outspeed Vigavolt if it somehow survives a Miracle. It single-handedly beats half his team while stalling out the electric terrain. At this point, you pretty much win after that. Parasect can counter Raichu one-on-one as long as you don't miss like I did. Ariados can Sucker Punch it to Revenge KO, and it's also got TM Dig for the Mega Manectric. And Ledian can actually take 2 Flame Bursts from it, so it's pretty much an easy clap. You should not have any trouble with this. Oh baby, yes! I found a Heracross raid. This is easy enough to find early game. Heracross is a major player in this run, one of the top 3 MVPs of the entire game for bug types, which will replace Ledian eventually. Its massive attack, coupled with Moxie, will prove to be ludicrous as you'll see. If you're lucky, you can also get a Cypher raid, but I failed to catch it, oh well. Getting Scizor at this point in the game would have been extremely useful. But it's time to prepare for the 4th gym. Here the game opens up so much more, and it is where we really start to get creative with team building. I EV train my whole team now in all of their stats, now that it's a lot easier to do now. Apart from Butterfree, that Pokemon is just tacked on for now as I don't really need it, it's just there. I will say that Ariados is much better once it's fully trained in attack, as it becomes so much easier to abuse Fell Stinger and Sucker Punch with it. But as you can see, I now have a new addition to the team, Shuckle. And good god is Shuckle incredible, not just for Mono Bug, but just in general. This can help almost all of your teams be great, and to make it even better, Shuckle now has access to the Solid Rock ability. The battle against Erica begins, but the issue is that Shuckle does not have Leftovers or Toxic yet. It still sets up Sticky Web, which actually turns out that this is a pretty bad play. But Shuckle isn't very useful in this particular battle, it turns out. Hell, I was actually really stupid as I got mixed up between Power Trick and Power Swap and I accidentally learned the wrong move and I basically just wasted a turn against a leading Rillaboom and just lost my Shuckle for nothing. Because of this mistake, Ninjask wasn't able to beat the Rillaboom, though if it did have attack investments it would have. Regardless, Revenge KO it anyways. Meganium gets completely countered by Ariados. Then you can bait the sleep from Mega Venusaur, so once Ariados is sleeping, Butterfree can just switch in, avoid the Earth Power, then beat it one-on-one with Air Slash easily. Butterfree can also easily beat Serperior one-on-one to just easily win the battle. At least Butterfree is being useful here. Completely forgot about Contrary Serperior being a thing, but oh well. Still only 1 Mon lost in that battle, despite being unprepared and making misplays. To make this even easier, you can actually replace the lead Shuckle with Yanmega, as a Bug Buzz with max special attack would probably one-shot the Rillaboom, and then you can just go off from there, without losing any Pokemon. At this point, I did not realise how amazing Yanmega is, but a Yanmega with good investment will do really well in this run. Heracross is also a good lead, but you get the picture with this battle, it's pretty easy anyways. Next up is Chuck, and he's an absolute cuck. Parasect can take a hit and puts Poliwrath to sleep with Spore. Because Spore goes last, you effectively get an extra turn of sleep in Poliwrath, so you've got 2 turns, just enough for you to switch in Ninjask, get a Sword Stance, and sweep. Giovanni won now, and he's really nowhere near as hard as people say he is. The difficulty here is really overhyped. The only issue is the lead Nidoking, as nothing on my team can easily handle it. For this, you do need Sticky Webs for the Mega Kangaskhan though. Shuckle turned out to be a pretty bad choice here as it really didn't do that much. It only set up Sticky Web and that was it. It couldn't really handle the Nidoking. I had to sack a Mon to Nidoking, but fortunately Ariados was somehow able to beat the Nidoking one-on-one, but that's pretty irrelevant. As long as Heracross can get an early KO with the Sticky Webs, it can literally just spam close combat and it will single-handedly sweep Giovanni's whole team regardless. Once Heracross gets going, you automatically win. Easy as that. In hindsight, if you do need to counter the Nidoking while setting up Sticky Webs, then Araquanid is your bug type for that. I never realised until the late game how good Araquanid actually is. But as long as Sticky Webs is up and Heracross can get a KO, that's all that matters with this battle, not worth talking about. Marty's next, and though I did not have a plan for this, it still proved to not be difficult. The lead Mimikyu is strong and it can be a threat. and I did have to sack my Shuckle to it. I did stall it out by using Yanmega to Detect, then U-turn out to Ariados to break the disguise, and then Ariados can take the boosted play rough, so I can then Toxic Stall the Mimikyu. Ariados is good in this battle as it's got Sucker Punch. It's capable of two-shotting Drifblim with Sucker Punch, but because I managed to get off one Sucker Punch, the Drifblim is weakened. Heracross can now finish it off with Shadow Claw, then Snowball with Moxie and win. Gengar surprisingly does not have Levitate, so it's pretty much just free real estate. The next rival fight is upon us, and this time I'll say he is worth mentioning. A strategy will be required as he does have Mega Charizard Y, along with an entire team that has good matchups against bug types. This is not a battle that you can just charge in without a plan. If you're doing that, then that's why you're finding it hard. Shuckle is up first and it sets up Sticky Webs, though in this battle Sticky Webs isn't that necessary as the majority of his team are flying types anyways. Shuckle could stall the Staraptor now that it's got leftovers Toxic Protect, which is really good to stall with, but he always switches out into Azumarill. In that case, when he does that, you switch out into Parasect by predicting the water type as you've got Dry Skin to basically negate it. Then you predict the Play Rough and you send in Ariados who can one-shot the Azumarill with Gunk Shot, which it gets at this point in the game. With Shuckle back in the battle, it can stall out the Jumpluff with Toxic and Protect. What I did to stall it out even better was I predicted it using Sleep Powder, so I switched into Parasect so it could negate it, then switch back into Shuckle and then use Protect so he can stall out the Jumpluff with Toxic. Though I used Yanmega and I did get a lucky Ancient Power boost in this battle, Galvantula would have beaten it regardless. Galvantula is here specifically to check Staraptor and Charizard, as it can outspeed both of them with a Jolly nature, or timid nature I guess. To beat Electivire, you'll need to sack a Parasect as it's no longer needed, so Heracross can just one-shot it, and it can one-shot Charizard with Rock Tomb, as it's got a Focus Sash it can just take a hit from full health. This requires some strategy, but even if the plan doesn't work out, you'll still have Yanmega in reserve, which is powerful. It can outspeed almost anything with Speed Boost, and the fact that it's got Ancient Power makes it so useful as it can hit the Charizard 4 times super effectively. Now, surprisingly, this is actually the first legit challenging battle of the run. The Admin Double Battle. This is hard for a few reasons. The opponent's team is very threatening. Their strongest Pokemon all have great matchups against bug types, and they're really hard to stop effectively. Also, you have to team up with an AI trainer who you cannot cooperate with effectively. And to make things worse, Brendan will actually hurt you by using Boom Burst, which is really obnoxious. I did lose several times, but eventually found an okay-ish way to win. This battle is just more RNG based by nature, as your AI buddy is very unreliable and there's a lot more factors in play, so it's really hard to control those, and it's hard to beat it reliably. I would recommend leading with Shuckle, purely because it can take the Intimidate while setting webs to slow down the Mega Houndoom, which, unless it's slowed down, it will be a huge threat. Remember, you still don't have Choice Scarf at this point in the game. Mega Houndoom is a monster against your bug types. Sashed Heracross is there to send out last to beat the Mega Houndooms after it's been slowed down. But the real issue is a Mega Mawile Aegislash Core. My only real answer to this was to add Centiskorch to my team. It's very good in this battle and it's got usable bulk, Flame Body to burn its attackers, and strong fire moves to hit hard. Be very careful as if you attack the right side of the screen, the Admin Archer can actually switch it out for his Houndoom, which is Flash Fire, so be very careful of that. My victory in this battle was close, but with this team you won't get destroyed as badly, you at least have a chance. It's really hard to come up with an exact way to guarantee winning as even your AI buddy is pretty random, so there's no way to really control the RNG here. Now it's time for Giovanni 2, who's a bit harder than last time, but only a little bit. Shuckle has 2 turns to set up against Elite Hippowdon, as that always goes for Stealth Rocks then Roar, so I used Toxic then Sticky Webs. Though I missed my Toxic, which you'll love to see. I purposely made it so Masquerain would be the one that would get roared out, as with Toxic it can Intimidate and 2-shot the Hippowdon. He switches out to Poltergeist, and the best thing to do here is to just simply sack your Masquerain and attack it. You can't afford to have that Poltergeist set up with Shell Smash, If it does, then there's a very good chance that you just lose straight away. Masquerade isn't EV trained, but if it was, it would deal way more damage and could potentially even use Quiver Dance on the Hippowdon and get a sweep from there. But regardless, it deals enough damage so my Ridos can come in, Sucker Punch the Poltergeist and take it down. Make sure that you've got black glasses to make this as easy as possible. I had to sack my Ridos to the Excadrill. Though, as that's another big threat. Just attack it instead of using Sucker Punch, as it does often goes for Swords Dance. With Sandstorm it's a monster, but this strategy allows you to stall out the Sandstorm. Heracross can now outspeed it and just sweep the entire team with close combat. Nice. So much for being hard, I guess. However, Sabrina's gym is actually surprisingly difficult. It is very hard unless you have a very good, well thought out strategy specifically to beat her. She's hard as she uses a double battle Trick Room team. Once it sets up, it's extremely hard to win against, but to make it even harder, her Mega Gardevoir, unlike the rest of her team, is actually fast, so you need ways to counter it. Psychic Surge Expand Force is absurdly strong. A Pokemon I never used in this run but would definitely recommend for this battle is Escavalier. It hits like a truck and is able to check Mega Gardevoir one-on-one, or you can use it to check the lead Hatterene. Also, if you can get a Scizor, this will also be very nice. But I came up with a way to out her team. Her team's power comes from Psychic Surge and Trick Room, so you need to stop her from abusing those strategies. Defog is not a bad idea to stop the Psychic Surge, but what I did in my strategy was I led off with Focus Sash Heracross and Aridos to counter her lead Pokemon. Aridos can get no guard, so you don't have to worry about missing the Gunk Shot. That is pretty annoying when you miss. Heracross will one-shot the Indeedee with Mega Horn, getting the Moxie boost and outspeeding everything else in her team apart from the Gardevoir. Make sure that your Heracross has max attack, otherwise this strategy might not work. Then Aridos can Gunk Shot the Hatterene and one-shot it, stopping her lead Pokemon, and stopping one of her 2 Trick Room setters. Heracross attacks Porygon. Even with max attack, it is possible that Porygon can somehow take a +1 close combat, but if you're truly max attack, more often than not you will one-shot it. The Marowak will always target Aridos. This allows Butterfree to come in, put Conkeldurr to sleep, so Heracross can then attack the Marowak and just destroy the rest of her team, because Conkeldurr is sleeping. The Focus Slash will let you beat Mega Gardevoir, so you can just win. Escavalier and Scizor will definitely make this battle easier, however. Along with Miracle or Beetle, which I realise in hindsight would have actually been a really spicy strategy to use. That's pretty cool, I guess. But regardless, it's now time for Gym Leader Koga, and this is a pretty big fight in this run, as after this, you can finally get access to super fast EV training, making team building and changing up your team so much faster and more convenient. Now, I know that Mega Evolution is now available, along with Scizor from the Safari Zone, but I wanted to beat Gym Leader Koga without using those. Now, without those, this can be hard without a Mega Evolution, but there is an easy way out. It's tricky to do, but you will need some preparing. You need a Yanmega with maximum special attack. This is where it really shines. It needs modest nature and maximum IVs and EVs. With Detect, you only need enough speed investment to outspeed the lead Swellow after 1 speed boost. Then the rest can just go into HP. So what you do is you lead off with your Yanmega. Make sure that it's got the Wise Glasses item, which you can get at this point in the game. And what you do is against the lead Swellow, you use Ancient Power, which is more often than not able to one-shot it if you've got the Wise Glasses item, so make sure you've got that. It's still possible to one-shot it without it, but it's way less likely. However, the AI switched out to Dragapult, and here at this point you can finish off the Dragapult with Shadow Ball, which is really convenient. I gave it Shadow Ball specifically for the Dragapult. You could also use Air Slash. If you get a critical hit or an Ancient Power boost or a flinch, then Shadow Ball is actually not needed, but as you'll see for this battle, Air Slash was not necessary, so for this set I would run Shadow Ball, Ancient Power and Bug Buzz, because after you beat the Dragapult, you can one-shot the Swellow with Ancient Power, then Koga sends out Greninja and you'll one-shot that with Bug Buzz. I will say the AI's choice of what they send out is really confusing. Drapion will be out next, and be very careful of this. It's Choice Scarfed with Wicked Blow, so just sack Yanmega here and get a big hit in. The Drapion has a Choice Scarf with Wicked Blow, which is incredibly powerful, so here I decided to just cut my losses and sack Yanmega. It can outspeed it and get a big hit in at least, so Yanmega put in a lot of work here, beating half of Koga's team and damaging the Drapion. However, I would actually use Detect against a Drapion just to stall out one more PB point. As you will see, Shuckle is able to stall out Wicked Blow, and it can Toxic Stall the Accelergor with Power Trick and Protect. Eventually Drapion runs out of PP and has to use Struggle, but regardless, it wouldn't be able to one-shot Heracross, letting Heracross sweep once again. As long as it's got a ground type move like Drill Run at least. I did not have that. What I didn't realise is that if you really want to cheese this battle, then bring Mega Beedrill, another one of the MVPs of the entire run. Mega Beedrill is able to outspeed and one-shot Koga's entire team, except for Drapion. Dragapult gets one-shotted by Knockoff, Toxicity can get one-shotted by Drill Run, and the rest of the team gets one-shotted by X-Scissor and Poison Jab. So you could use Mega Beedrill and all you need is a way to stall the Drapion, which Shuckle can do. It's an even easier way to win right there. So yeah, as you're about to see, Mega Beedrill is absolutely absurd. For the next battle here, is arguably the hardest one of the entire run, Clear. She was genuinely hard for me to beat. She's got 3 different teams that she can rotate at random, making her very unique. Her possible lead Pokemon are Bronzong, Steelix or Fortress, and they almost always try to set up hazards, along with how 2 of them have a sturdy ability, making it so you can't one-shot them. The rest of their team also is just too much to handle. Melmetal, Aegislash, which is broken, and Megagron, they just wrecked me. I could not win this battle. I failed many times, as my team was. Unless I got some extreme RNG, which I'm not about. I was thoroughly outmatched here. I had to change my tactics. See, this is what separates the good Pokemon players from the bad ones. The good ones realise their shortcomings and make an actual effort to adapt and learn from it. The bad players don't bother, and instead they just try to bang their heads against the wall over and over again until they get some dumb luck. All the while whining about how the game is so unfair, because they're not using their brains. For example, I realised the Steel type boss trainer is very hard for me, so if only there was a very powerful Bug type that's legendary tier strong, that's a special attacker to beat our physical defenders, and is also a fire type to counter her. Oh, it's about time Volcarona showed up, the strongest non-legendary bug in the game, with its amazing stats, fire moves and quiver dance. There is no exact strategy to beat Claire as she's got 3 different teams and the lead Pokemon are all different. But if she leads off with Bronzong, then Volcarona can give you the edge that you need to win. I tried to set up Quiver Dance to one-shot it, but sensing the danger, the AI just used Explosion straight away. This is bad as Scizor can now finish it off with Bullet Punch. At least I do get the burn on it with Flame Body, which is quite likely. This allows me to snowball and eventually win with Heracross this time as it gets 3 KOs along with Ledian, and then Beedrill can just handle the rest. Now I realised afterwards that if you want to make this battle a lot easier and sweep with just Volcarona, I realised that going max HP and max defense on Volcarona will allow you to easily take an explosion from Bronzong with enough health to stall out the Scizor. You'll outspeed regardless, and Protect Leftovers can be used to stall for Leftovers recovery. In this battle my Volcarona had max special attack and speed, but with Quiver Dance that's not really necessary. If you invest in physical bulk, you can easily just wall Jasmine's team and just sweep with Quiver Dance and fire moves. The Scizor is actually choiced, so it won't be able to set up on you anyways. Roost, Protect, Fiery Dance and Quiver Dance would theoretically allow you to just sweep her entire team. This is one of the very few actual hard battles in the game. After this, it gets easier for a while. I won't bother showing price because, as you can imagine, Heracross will have a field day with ice types. Now it's time for the fire type gym leader, and you might think he's really hard, but if you're built different like me, he's really not. In fact, with the plan, he's actually one of the easier gym leaders to exploit surprisingly. The main threat on this team is that he has a priority Typhlosion with the sun and eruption, so you need a way to deal with that Typhlosion and the weather. Remember that Typhlosion has heavy boots, so Stealth Rocks won't work. What you need to do is lead off with Shuckle, intoxic the Torkoal straight away, then set up sticky webs. You want to start chipping away the Torkoal itself straight away, and you don't want it to use Rapid Spin, so Protect is quite good to prevent it from using it. The good thing is that if you do this anyways, the AI will just switch into Cinderace without using Rapid Spin. So just use Protect, Stealth Rocks, then Protect again to stall out the Sun and stall out the Cinderace and ensure that you have your hazards up. At this point, Shuckle's pretty much done its purpose anyway, so let Cinderace take it down. Revenge KO with Beedrill to get rid of it. Now Typhlosion is here, and this is a problem. But this is why I brought Araquanid as a great counter to it, one of the very few counters to it in the game for bug types. Araquanid is worthy of being used in the endgame, and is especially amazing here. Water Bubble is an absurdly good ability, making it the only bug type to actually resist fire types. Max HP in attack makes Liquidation incredibly strong, while having great special defense at the same time. This is able to take an eruption in the sun, and just in time the sun runs out. You can use Miracle to take out the Typhlosion, or you can use Liquidation, it's up to you. A good alternative to potentially counter the Typhlosion is to use Flash Fire or Centiskorch, which is a pretty spicy option, as it soaks up the fire moves. Anyways, now that Torkoal's down, you can easily sweep the final 3 with Yanmega. +1 Yanmega can outspeed -1 Venusaur with a Chlorophyll boost, and one-shot it after the Stealth Rocks, along with the final 2 Pokemon. Make sure that it's Yanmega's max special attack and Life Orb, you need that to one-shot. So yeah, you can easily beat Blaine and just sweep him with Yanmega at this point. You beat him at his own game, which is really satisfying. With that, it's now time for the final Giovanni battle. And this is considered the hardest difficulty spike in the game for most people, which is usually the case. However, it turns out that my team just happens to counter his team unusually well. Giovanni is a threat as he's got strong Psychic Core and a Sand Core, but turns out that bug types can really handle it. I'll skip over the admin rematches as they're surprisingly easy to handle with this team here. Oh yeah, I finally have Scizor in the squad. As you know, Scizor is amazing. Its Steel type allows you to cover your weaknesses and has a very powerful priority move to use. Definitely worth using and overall just a meta choice. As for the Giovanni fight itself, I lead off with Mega Beedrill. Now this turned out to be very interesting. It turned out that even with Intimidate, Beedrill can still one-shot Tapu Lele, which is the immediate threat. I did get a critical hit, but after checking the damage calculations, it turns out that more often than not, it doesn't actually matter. I'm assuming that Tapu Lele has max HP EVs, which for all I know, it might not even have that. If it has max HP and no defense then Poison Jab, it's still usually a one-shot KO even with Intimidate. I forgot to save anyway, so I couldn't reset the battle even if I wanted to. But I'll assume that the crit didn't matter much, and even if it does, then you could just use a different lead instead, like Escavalier or Scizor with Iron Head instead, and you'll still win the battle easily enough. Assuming Beedrill is able to one-shot Tapu Lele no matter what, then the rest of the battle here is incredibly easy sweep. You turn out the Heracross when Excadrill comes out, then proceed to close combat. I gave it a Choice Scarf just for this battle to outspeed its Frez. With Lance's Dragapult, it helps you to break Alakazam's Focus Sash and destroy it before it gets to do anything. Weirdly enough, the AI wastes a turn by rolling out Heracross, meaning he only has 2 mons left, but after this you just automatically win. See, Giovanni's team can be hard because it's hyper offense, but if you have fast strong attackers that can hit him super effectively, you can just destroy his threats before they get to do anything and just easily win. Yanmega has a field day. So much for that difficulty spike. Time for the final gym leader, and this is arguably a tad bit trickier. The lead Aerodactyl is problematic, it's not very nice to handle, especially as it has Taunt, which Shuckle does not appreciate. Here I misplayed in the battle but was still able to sweep easily enough. I forgot to save beforehand, so I wasn't able to reset the battle to optimize my strategy, so oh well. This goes to show that even when misplaying and when you don't have a plan, this still isn't even that hard. I U-turn on the Aerodactyl predicting a taunt, but that doesn't work. I get wrecked right there. Cringe lel. I would recommend just leading off with Scizor to beat the Aerodactyl with Bullet Punch straight off. Don't make the same mistake I did. Here I did get lucky and I got a critical hit. It's unsure how much that critical hit would have mattered, I know that Nagandiel has a fire type move, but with a focus sash the outcome would be exactly the same, as if Scizor is focus sash it would just take the fire type move, destroy Nagandiel regardless, then it would break Dragonite sash, so it turned out the crit didn't actually matter if you're using a focus sash. So this allows Shuckle to come in and Toxic Stall the Dragonite, as it can take a +2 hit and set up sticky webs at the same time. Next is Magearna, and Araquanid is needed to chip this down. Now it did miss me with its Fluor Cannon, but it did not matter, as regardless, even if it did hit me, Heracross would be able to finish it off from this range and just sweep the rest of the team. That was okay I guess, a bit messy but still a pretty decisive victory. Now it's time to prepare for the Elite Four. This time I'll skip over the next rival battle, mainly because the video's getting long as hell, and honestly I'll assume that you're capable enough to handle him without my guidance. Same with the final Brendan battle, they aren't really that hard to handle, and they're not really notable difficulty spikes or anything. The main thing to do is to prepare for the Elite Four in the final battle. Plow through Victory Road and get ready for the final battle. A big thing to mention is that you can catch Buzzwole at this point in the game, and while I didn't need it for my run, it's very tempting and a great choice. You might as well get legendary tier Mon in the squad. But the most important thing is to abuse the new Destiny Knot, which you can now get. Catch a new Ditto, pay to get his IVs maxed out, which is definitely worth it, then rebreed a new perfect IV team. My Shuckle was already perfect IV, so I didn't need to rebreed that, which was convenient. Then you EV train up the new team and grind them up with wild Dinos. After less than 2 hours at most, I now have a brand new team of fully perfectly trained Pokemon, ready to dominate the rest of the game. The team that I decided to settle on ended up being very powerful once I knew how to use it to its fullest potential. The main win condition of this team is to once again sweep with Heracross or Mega Beedrill after Shuckle sets up his hazards, with the other 3 Pokemon there to counter specific threats in Elite Four like Primal Kyogre and Primal Dialga, as you'll see. Without further ado, I'll show you how to finish the game with only bug Pokemon. Lorelei's first, and while she sounds hard, she's actually by far the easiest Elite Four member to beat once you know how to counter her. Now she's got 2 different teams, but it doesn't really matter which one she uses, the outcome will be very similar. More often than not, I encountered her rain team like 5 times in a row, so that battle became pretty much autopilot for me to beat. The best leads are Shuckle and Scizor. I recommend leading off with Scizor instead of Araquanid, purely just in case she does lead off with her Hail team. If she does lead off with her Hail team, then Scizor will just have a field day with that. Now make sure that Shuckle uses Sunny Day straight away to remove her rain, then have it use Toxic on Politoed, then set up Sticky Webs, then Stealth Rocks. Assuming the rain team, you'll be able to switch Scizor out for Araquanid, and for some reason the AI just focused fire on it, even though it's not very effective. But because of the water resistance and the incoming sun, Araquanid just won't take that much damage, so it can just wall them easily. Araquanid can then easily use Leech Life and Ludicolo to bring it down to its Focus Sash range and heal up all of its damage at the same time, which is really cool. Shuckle and Araquanid can easily handle Ludicolo, Politoed and Kingdra. The Kingdra has Hurricane, but because the sun is now up, is very unreliable and will miss like 50% of the time. The fact that you can Toxic Stall with Leech Life and Toxic in the double battle is pretty funny. The best thing is that when the Ludicolo does switch in, because you've got Stealth Rocks, it will go down to it. Not even Primal Kyogre will be an issue in this battle with this strategy. With the Stealth Rocks, it won't be at full health, so more often than not, Araquanid will have enough to easily take a Water Spout and then wreck Kyogre with Mirror Coat. Awesome! Even if Kyogre somehow lives in Mirror Coat, Scizor can just finish it off with Bullet Punch. With a Choice Scarf, Heracross can outspeed Dracovish and Mega Swampert, even with the Swift Swim if they're at -1 because of the Sticky Webs. So at this point, you've pretty much already won. Volcarona can also one-shot Swampert with Giga Drain once the rain goes away if you need to. But yeah, this is just very easy to do once you get going. Definitely the easiest Elite Four member. Surprisingly, the hardest Elite Four member by far is Bruno, which is weird as he's usually not that much of an issue, but his team does present my team with some problems. His lead Pokemon are very troublesome. But after a few losses, I found a way to beat him, though there will always be some amount of RNG involved. Due to how just fast paced his team is, it's pretty hyper offense. So I lead off with Shuckle against him, but this time make sure that you give Shuckle a mental herb, because half the time he leads off with an Infernape and can use taunt. If he taunts your Shuckle, then you're kind of screwed there. But for the last few times in a row, he's actually been leading off with his Water or Shifu just as often. Now, with the right investment in the Solid Rock ability, Shuckle can take 2 Surging Strikes from it, so I use that opportunity to set up my Sticky Web and Stealth Rocks. If you know Urshifu is going to lead, then Rocky Helmet would actually be a really good option to counter Urshifu, as it'll make contact with you quite a lot of times, so you can counter it really well. I lost Araquanid to Scissor as I didn't know that I had dual wing beat, which is kind of unfortunate. I was misplaying quite badly, but just when things looked really bad, I managed to turn the battle around, because now that Scissor's down, and that the Urshifu was damaged so it's no longer able to use its Focus Sash, at this point with his Sticky Webs, Heracross can just finish it off with close combat. And for some reason after this, Bruno always sends out Mega Lucario, which Heracross can just take its priority with -1 defenses. With Scissor down, he's got no more priority users, so at this point you're just free to sweep with Heracross. This is not that easy to do, and I can't give a proper strategy as any random kind of RNG will change the battle wildly. Regardless, this is definitely doable, and it is the hardest battle in the whole run, I will say, so if you beat this battle, then congratulations, you're pretty much done at this point. You're in the home run and it just gets easier from here. I beat the rest of the Elite Four all on my first try. I beat them back to back, so yeah, it's easier from here on. Agatha is nowhere near as bad as Bruno, because this time you've got quite a bit of type advantage. This time I led off with my Shuckle again, but I panicked as I didn't think that she would lead with a taunt user, but she did. This was annoying because of that I took off the Mental Herb, so I am no longer immune to taunts, which is a misplay on my part. The good thing is that Scizor can easily handle the lead Grimmsnarl, so I would recommend just leading off with that instead. Grimmsnarl just cannot hurt Scizor in return. Though, I would recommend giving Scizor the Mental Herb, so you can use Sword Stance and just set up, and then you can just destroy quite a bit of her team. I use Sword Stance anyway to bait out the taunt, just to burn a turn off the Reflect to stall some time. Dragapult is out next, as her second Pokemon out, and she uses a special attacking variant which isn't as threatening, so Shuckle can definitely switch in and handle it easily enough. But this time it got the special defense drop, which is very unfortunate, making it not so good. Despite this, I still managed to get off a double protect, set up sticky webs, install the Dragapult. Now Mimikyu is one of her main threats as it sets up and has priority. I had no choice but to sack my Araquanid to break Mimikyu's disguise, as otherwise it would probably just sweep my team. But without the disguise, Scizor can easily just destroy it in one hit with Bullet Punch. Now here I misplayed against Aegislash. Aegislash is probably her biggest threat. That Pokemon is just broken as anything. It definitely deserved to be banned from OU back in the day, I remember that. The problem here is that Scizor can do really well against Aegislash, but on this occasion I forgot to teach it TMF for knockoff to damage Aegislash. But I misplayed here, so I couldn't handle it. Heracross fishes it off, but the Marshadow is another threat. Volcarona can more often than not burn it with Flame Body, as that will hit you 2 times, giving you a 60% chance to burn it. But at the end of the battle, Mega Beedrill gets deployed to destroy Mega Gengar, and well, this battle was definitely messy. It was my first try and I still managed to beat it despite misplaying really badly and literally forgetting to bring the right moves to it. To make this easier, make sure that you use a Mental Herb and set up with it. And make sure that Scizor has knockoff to deal with the Aegislash. If you do that, this battle will be much easier to beat. And while Lance is usually the hardest member to beat, he also went down first try. He can lead off with Aerodactyl, so I put back on the Mental Herb with my Shuckle just to be safe for the lead. Though this time he led off with Garchomp instead, and that does not have taunt, so if he does lead off with Garchomp, then Mental Herb is not needed. The best play against Garchomp is to use Toxic straight away, then Sticky Webs, as it always go for Stealth Rocks, then Sword Stance, and it can hit very hard. So at this point, just try to stall it out with Protect and Toxic. though with leftovers this would be a lot easier to do. Dracozolt is next and it's really scary, and it even manages to take an adamant nature close combat. Damn. Because it's Choice Scarf, I could not run Earthquake with my Heracross, which is very unfortunate, otherwise I would be able to use Earthquake and one-shot it, so this was a misplay on my part. However, because of this misplay an opportunity arose. It was risky, but Mega Beedrill was able to come in and KO the Dracozolt with Fell Stinger, and this is where the fun begins. I don't know why Lance didn't switch out. If he did, the strategy would not have worked. Man, Mega Beedrill goes on a rampage here now that it's at +3 and destroys 3 of his mons, including his Mega Salamence, and it badly hurts the Melmetal on its way out. At this point you pretty much win the battle automatically. Volcarona just spams Fiery Dance and win from there. All he's got left is Primal Dialga, and there's no way it can handle all of your bug types. You've got 4 bug types left, so you've pretty much won. A great way to counter Primal Dialga in general is to use Miracle Araquanid, but because Primal Dialga is his last Pokemon, it just starts spamming Roar, so just gang up at it and win. This battle can be tense, but if you have Mega Beedrill at +3 you can destroy a good chunk of his team, as for some reason he always sends out Melmetal after his other Dragon types, which is really suboptimal, but it's just how the AI works I guess. This leaves only one last battle for the entire run, and a very anticlimactic one at that. It's weird how the champion is surprisingly easy to beat compared to the Elite Four. I didn't even know what team he was going to use, so I was actually semi-blind at this point. But nah, this isn't an issue. Time to finish this guide. Turns out that he did lead off with Crocodile this time, and good thing that I kept on my Mental Herb here to lay down the hazards even though the Crocodile has Taunt. The best play now after setting up your hazards is to just switch in Araquanid and take the next taunt and beat it with Liquidation. Shuckle will be very important in a second, so you don't want Shuckle to take a wicked blow from the Crocodile. So sack your Araquanid, as it's now served its purpose by taking out the lead, so Shuckle can now switch in safely. Go straight for Toxic and try to stall out the Togekiss, as that can be a bit problematic, and it's not going to hurt Shuckle that much anyways. The Togekiss is Scarfed I believe, so it can't really use Thunder Wave or any shenanigans. But Green for some reason here, he switches out to Primal Groudon as I started setting up the hazards. This is why using Toxic Thirst, then setting up your hazards would have been more effective, as it would have made it significantly easier to stall out the Primal Groudon. But it didn't matter that much. Shuckle can Toxic Stall out the Primal Groudon while also setting up Stealth Rocks and Sticky Webs, giving you a huge advantage and making the rest of the battle so much easier at this point. Shuckle gets knocked out and the Primal Groudon goes down to Toxic, so Shuckle's definitely put in work here, taking out one of his strongest Pokemon. At this point Mega Beedrill can just come in, destroy Togekiss in the following Darkrai, though the problem was that U-turn was Mega Beedrill's only bug move, so I couldn't use Heracross. The problem is with U-turn I had to switch out. But Heracross just sweeps the win anyways despite this. It still outspeeds the Shell Smash Blastoise, because Heracross was still Choice Scarf and the Sticky Webs were up, finishing the challenge with close combat. Man, this was a pretty fun run to do, but as you can see this game is nowhere near as hard as people make it out to be. The idea that Pokemon Radical Red is the hardest ROM hack ever is nothing more than over sensationalized BS. The difficulty is organic and is more of a test of skill and knowledge than it is artificial difficulty. If you know how to think critically, then you can easily destroy this game in the casual run even more than I can using only bug types. So this pretty much concludes the guide. Yeah, the Elite Four can be tricky if you're not prepared, but everything else until this point is pretty much not an issue at all. I hope this helps you out on your own Radical Red experience, and that you've enjoyed this analytical video, which is quite different from my usual ones. So I will see you all next time. This is Ding Dong, signing out.